A deadly gunfight between brothers with a baby in the room. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Today, the Harrison County Sheriff said an argument over guns led to the death of a 35-year-old man. It happened off of Pine Valley Sub Road in the Harleton area around 9 o'clock Monday night. KLTV7's Jamie Boyum has more now on why the sheriff says Texas self-defense laws could be key in this case.
A hail of gunfire erupted in a bedroom of a mobile home near Harleton, according to Harrison County Sheriff B.J. Fletcher. He says 5 people were in the room, including a 1-year-old girl.
ACSO Communications received a call from a caller that was screaming on 911 that shots had been fired and one person was down.
Fletcher says witnesses told investigators Jamail Boyer came into the bedroom accusing his brother Isaiah Boyer Joyner of stealing guns which belonged to Jamail.
Witnesses reported that Jamail stated he was going to kill Isaiah and brandished a handgun in the direction of Isaiah and his daughter.
Witnesses said Isaiah grabbed a nearby rifle.
An exchange of gunfire then occurred. Quite a bit of gunfire. Isaiah sustained an injury to his left hand. Jamail sustained multiple apparent gunshot wounds to the torso area.
Fletcher said Isaiah helped move Jamail to the kitchen and CPR was performed. 4 deputies, a DPS trooper, and EMS responded. Fletcher said Jamail died at the scene. Isaiah was taken to a hospital. No charges have been filed at this time.
The state of Texas has the right to protect yourself and or a third party, and both of those things were present in this bedroom.
Fletcher says they found 14 shell casings in the mobile home. No one else was injured in the shooting.
If the subject had not been able to defend himself and the rest of his family, I do personally believe that there would have been a lot more injured people in this scenario.
Jamie Boyum, KLTV 7 News.
Now, looking ahead, Sheriff Fletcher says a grand jury will decide if charges should be